So many people wonder, if there is a God, why do bad things happen to good people? We're going to talk about that on this episode of Time Out with Timothy.
Time out.
Megan Rapinoe is a professional soccer player. She has a very accomplished career. She's been a long-standing member of the United States women's national team. She's played a big role in their success, which has included world championships, gold medals, you name it. They've been offered trips to the White House, turned it down, but that's another story. One of the reasons they turned it down is because Megan Rapinoe is also known for her activism. She is a member of the LGBTQ plus society. She has championed their causes. She was very vocal during the BLM movement. She was very instrumental in convincing and, according to some reports, even bullying her teammates into kneeling during the national anthem. So she's been very active in activism. Currently, she's working to raise money for the Palestinian cause, despite her status in the LGBTQ plus, and despite the fact that she is currently married to her partner, who is a Jew. So, interesting dynamic there, but nonetheless, Megan Rapinoe is very outspoken, not afraid to say what she's thinking. She recently started what was to be her final game of her professional career. She was going to retire, going to ride off into the sunset after this game. Now, sadly, and I do mean that seriously, I do not want anyone 6 minutes into this match, she tore her Achilles tendon, ending not only her game but her career. So instead of riding off into the sunset as planned, she was carried off to the hospital by the medical staff. Now, afterwards, she was in an interview, and she made the comment that she's not a very religious person, but if you believe there is a God, this is proof that there is not one. Now, perhaps this was a poorly delivered joke, delivered in just as poor taste. Perhaps this is her true feelings, and I know which way I lean on that. You can probably guess which way I lean on that. Either way, regardless, she said it. And that brings me to my point. She said it because something bad happened to her. You know, she tore her Achilles tendon and she couldn't play the final game of her career. And if she had just got through that game, she'd have walked away perfectly healthy, riding cloud nine. She'd have went out on her terms. So people ask, and they ask often, if there is a God, why do bad things happen to good people? First, life happens. That bumper sticker slogan is an appropriate answer to this question. Life just happens. But it doesn't get to the root cause as to why God allows it. Otherwise I would just stop there. I'd say, hey man, life happens. Pick yourself up, move on. But we're addressing the question, why does this bad stuff happen to good people? So Jesus addressed this in his Sermon on the Mount. In Matthew 5, verse 45, he said, and this is from the King James, he said, he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and the unjust. So if the sun's rising, that's good. If it's raining, that's bad. Good and bad happen to good and bad alike. That's from the mouth of Jesus. There is no higher authority. That is a sufficient answer, and we could stop right there, and we can move on. Argument settled and done. But we will continue in this and offer just a little bit more insight. And we're going to do that kind of in the form of a root cause analysis. So root cause analysis is used every day in the business world. You have an issue, you have a problem that arises, something doesn't go right, you need to figure out why. You start digging down step by step through the process, until you find what event started this off. What is the root cause that created the eventual problem, the eventual undesired outcome, and then what can you do to prevent that root cause from happening again? So that's the long and short of what a root cause analysis is. So look at with God. To do that, we need to first accept that there is a God and approach it from that viewpoint. Trying to answer this question from the viewpoint that there is not a God is kind of irrelevant and hard to do. We would just be going around and around on how, we are the summation of inputs and outputs with a measure of randomness thrown in, and that leads to life. So there'd be no controlling factor. God is the presumed controlling factor that can prevent bad from happening and can cause good to happen. And that's why the question comes up, there is a God. So there's no reason to analyze this from a no God standpoint. So we are going to accept that there is a God, and we're going to move forward with that viewpoint in mind. So to do that, we're going to use his book, the Bible. Well, let's start in Deuteronomy chapter 30, where Moses is talking to the Jewish people, and he lays out before them some options. In verses 19 and 20, he put a bow on those options by stating, I have set before you life and death, blessing and curse. Therefore choose life, that you and your offspring may live, loving the Lord your God, obeying his voice, and holding fast to him, for he is your life and length of days. That is from the English Standard Version. He set before them blessing and curse. Basically, obey and you will have blessing. Disobey and you will have cursing. Now those people chose not to obey. Therefore they received the curse. The curse was applied in a blanket fashion over the entire people of Israel. It affected both good and bad. It was not differentiated between who did it and who didn't do it. But hold on a second here. Moses was talking to the Jews. So why then do bad things happen to non-Jews who are good people? That's a good question. And we could continue down the route and answer that from the standpoint of the difference between Jews and Gentiles, and how in Galatians chapter 3, verses 28 and 29, Jesus talked about how there is neither Jew nor Greek, and that we are all one in Christ. But in the spirit of root cause analysis, instead of going that route, we're going to dig a little bit deeper, because what was going on in Deuteronomy was not the original thing that started us down this path. So we'll dig a little deeper, and let's see if we can find the real root cause. Now, you may know where I'm heading at this point. But let's go all the way back to the book of Genesis, the creation story. God created a perfect world centered in the Garden of Eden. In this world, he placed all the animals, all the trees and vegetation, and then he placed Adam and Eve. So in this garden, they had everything they needed to live. Nothing was held back from them, with one exception. There was a tree in the center of this garden. This tree was special. And God told them, do not eat from this tree. He told them if they did eat from this tree that they would surely die. Now, most of us know that the devil was sent down from heaven, and he took on the form of a serpent, convinced Eve that she would not surely die if she ate from this tree, and that it was good for her to eat from. So she did. Most of us overlook the fact that Adam was right there with her when she did that. So he was not innocent and found out about it later. He was right there with her when he did that, or when she did that. Now, they not only introduced sin, but they introduced the wages of sin, which are death, into the world. They introduced the curse that comes along with sin. The biblical story of Adam and Eve places the blame for all the problems we face today squarely on their shoulders. We have found our root cause. The root cause is sin, disobeying God. That is the reason bad things happen. And much like that curse in Deuteronomy, it happens to everybody. The curse of sin is on all good. We shouldn't be surprised when bad things happen. Please don't blame God. God did, however, for us to escape the ultimate final cost of sin. He did that through his son Jesus. Through Jesus' death and then his resurrection, he offered us a way out. He paid the sin debt. He gave us a way to break the curse. All we have to do is believe and accept that gift. Now, yes, you can get through life being a quote-unquote good person by today's standards and not have Jesus in your life, in your heart. It is possible. But you can't get through death without having Jesus in your life. That great hope makes it so much easier to handle the negative stuff that comes on you in life and to help you to see that there is a brighter future down the road as we move through our walk on this earth until it comes to an end. So I hope you liked this episode with Time Out with Timothy. I hope you found it interesting and thought-provoking. If you did, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share it with your friends, tell a friend to tell a friend, as they say, and bless you. We'll talk to you next week.